Hi friends, today I am going to discuss Uranus in third house. The third house represents younger sibling, neighbors, relatives, lust and bad thoughts as it is higher octave of eighth house. It also represents marketing, media, advertising, communications. It stands for school level education. It also stands for transportation. It also stands for short distance or inner city traveling. It represents throat, vocal cords, right ear, right shoulder, collarbone, right one, right hand, right arm. It also stands for unlocking of karma, and it is the house of profession for maternal uncle or aunt, and also it represents mother-in-law of maternal uncle or aunt. And it also stands for being enterprising. It is the house of strength, courage, determination, willpower, restlessness. Um, the the third house in mundane astrology stands for all means of communications and transportations. The expenses incurred for nation, for due to all the catastrophic events or for the development of the country, and also neighboring countries. It represents magazines, radio, television, all modes of public transport. It also represents schools and colleges. So this is, in short, the third house stands for. When Uranus comes here, I studied many charts, personal charts of celebrities, and I realized that all the prominent singers in the world, many of them, have who are renowned for their good voice and for their singing ability, or even good orators, people who have good voice, like Amitabh Bachchan. In his Western chart, he has Uranus in his third house, and also many singers who they have their Uranus in their third house, like Celine Dion, like Britney Spears, like Will Smith. He is a rapper, and he's also a producer and actor, and he is a Grammy-winning hip hop artist as well. So and also like Chris Martin, singer Alicia, Stevie Nicks, George Michael, Claude Francois, Usher, Robbie Williams, they all have Uranus in their third house. I opened the chart of Mr. Walt Disney. Mr. Walt Disney was pioneer in American animation cartoon movies. The kind of technologies he introduced at that time, I mean, those are phenomenal. And he had Uranus, he was Virgo rising, and 10th, Mercury is ascendant lord as well as 10th house lord. And he has in his third house Sun and Mercury conjunction with Uranus. So Mercury and Uranus, as I said in earlier video, that they create genius. In whichever field they work, they are pioneers there. So Mr. Walt Disney will be known in the world for a very long time. And then I opened the chart of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, he is the founder and CEO of Facebook.com. Who doesn't know him? So he was into he has Libra rising, and he has Uranus in his third house. And from a very young age, as a kid, he was a computer wizard, and he developed computer games even at the age of 10 just to play at home with his friends. At the age of 12, he made a program called, which he named Zucknut, and it was used by his father, who was a dentist who has his own clinic. So he used to use it in his clinic, for some system, and at home also, it was used by family members for daily routine work. And then he developed many other programs while he was in the school, like Media Player Synapse. That when he was in high school, he developed it. And in college also, he developed Course Match. And then he developed Face Mash, for which he has to hack Harvard database, and he was reprimanded for that. Then he developed Harvard connections, and during the process of while he was developing all these programs, and he was known as the software developer of the camp, when he was in school and college. And that time he was already working the planning for social networking site Facebook. In fact, he dropped out of college to focus on that. And then in 2004, the Facebook he officially launched. So Uranus is in his third house, and it is giving this kind of results. And he's the fifth richest man in the world. And I'm seeing in next 1.5 years, he is going to be rising to some more power. He will become more powerful, and he will have more new business opportunities. Maybe he will develop some more new programs or some new technology. And also he may become father a second time. It's a very strong chance for him. So for mundane astrology, I opened the chart for Japan. Now Japan have two charts. One is before 1947. In 1945, the World War II ended, and in 1947, they signed their new constitution. So from that 1947 onwards, they have a new chart. But since I'm going to discuss the events before the new constitution was signed, that is before 1947, I'm going to take the old chart. In the old chart of Japan, it has Aries rising. And Gemini is third sign, where Moon and Rahu are residing. Moon is lord of fourth house of home and homeland and Mother Earth, with Rahu in third house Gemini. When Uranus went to Gemini, transited to Gemini in 1941 August. In 1941 December, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, and the World War II started. And because there was much destruction happened to railway tracks and railways, railway tracks and Japan railways, maybe due to the fact because the Railway Ministry of Japan declared 24-hour clock policy, which meant that no civilians can go on trains. It was only meant for military, army and freight. So due to that fact, the railway tracks and trains and railway stations were destroyed a lot due to bombarding and fire accidents. So the railways were totally destroyed during that time, and lot of construction work after the war Japan had to do on railway tracks. Also the Kunmen Tunnel, but that was also Kunmen undersea tunnel was also constructed by Japan. The Kunmen the roadways, which is 58 feet below sea level, and the Kunmen undersea tunnel was launched by Japan during in 1942. And and America dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. That time also Uranus was in their third house. Uranus with Rahu can bring destruction, and Uranus in itself is a violent planet, so it can bring destruction also. So Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when the nuclear bomb, little boy was dropped, it was destroyed totally. I mean, the destruction was of very high level, and this little boy was carrying the ingredient which was in little boy was uranium-235. Now that metal uranium has nothing to do with Uranus, but in mystical sciences everything represents a symbol, so maybe it's a symbol of Uranus, uranium-235. So the war came to an end when this bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 by America. But the reconstruction and development of Japan continued all through, even when Uranus was transiting in fourth house Cancer. So that is home and earth and homelands. So Japan went through that kind of phase during that time. Then also I opened for India. I realized that in 1957, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru started the Indian Space Research Organization with scientist Mr. Vikram Sarabhai. But in 1970, it really started working a lot. It started the research work seriously. ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization. In 1975, in 1975, India launched its first satellite, Aryabhat. It was named after famous mathematician Aryabhat. And Soviet Union launched Aryabhat in space, not India. But that time, Uranus was in the first house of India chart. But in 1980, in 1980 also, India launched Rohini. And Rohini, that time Uranus was transiting in second house in India chart. And India launched Rohini in space by its own efforts. It didn't take help of any other nation. So Rohini was launched in 1980. Yes, that time Uranus was transiting in second house. In 1987, when Uranus was transiting in third house, the ASLV, Augmented Satellite Launch Vehicle, discovered a very important information for space related studies and space technology. That is, moon has a large amount of water molecules. So that was very important information discovered by India, by Indian Space Research Organization during that phase when it was transiting through third house. Uranus was transiting through third house. And also in 1984, when Uranus was still in second house, Mr. Rajiv Sharma, he went to moon, the first Indian. It was a collaboration, Indian collaboration with Soviet Union, and three astronauts went to moon. And Mr. Rakesh Sharma was one of them. So even through third and fourth house, when it is transiting Uranus for India chart, it has been giving lot of technological development. As I said earlier also, that the progress regarding technology, communications, media, vehicles has been happening in India, and since that time, since 1970, or I should say since 1975, because first satellite Aryabhat was launched that time. Since that time till today, India has launched 88 satellites. So that's something major. So Uranus does give its result, and we will discuss next Uranus in fourth house, what kind of result it gives in personal, for people in their personal life, as well as on mundane level. If you like my videos, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you so much. God bless you. Take care.